In this video for HY302, we will look at a significant event in Fiji's history, that which we call Cession. This is part of our second module in the class, titled Part 2, Establishing New Foundations, which looks specifically at the period beginning in 1874 with Cession and continuing to the beginning of the 20th century. In the next 3 weeks, we will look at the following 3 topics: the signing of the Deed of Cession, which gave control of the Fiji Islands to England, the outbreak of measles throughout the Fiji Islands a year later, and the policies created by British colonial officials, which we refer to collectively as the Gordon-Thurston Settlement, in honour of its 2 major advocates, Governor Sir Arthur Gordon and Sir John Bates Thurston. Before we get to those next 2 topics, let's first look at some historical context with Cession. In the coming slides, we will look at what actually happened at Cession. What was it? What factors contributed to the decision to cede Fiji's sovereignty? And what happened after Cession? This photo, you will notice, sits atop the Moodle page. It is a composite of different photographs assembled by the previous course coordinator, Sir Morgan Tuimalelifano. You will see his name and some of his materials sprinkled throughout this course, as he taught the history of Fiji at USP for a number of years. Do you recognize any of these faces? Pause the video now and see if you can identify who some of these key leaders were. If you're still not too sure, that's okay. We will encounter some of these key individuals throughout the course. But if I draw your attention to the mountains at the back of the photograph, they are from a picture representing the town of Levuka, a key European settlement in the islands of Fiji, where the Deed of Cession was first signed. And today there is a memorial plaque there, which is featured at the front of this photograph. And one of the key individuals at this signing was Sir Ratu Thakambau, the bearded man at the top of the photograph. So let's move on and see what happened during Cession. Cession is defined as the voluntary transfer of sovereignty to another power, and it's distinctive from annexation, when a foreign power takes control of another country, sometimes peacefully or sometimes by force. In the case of Fiji, on the 10th of October 1874, a Fijian chief, or Turanga, ceded Fiji's sovereignty unconditionally to Great Britain. This was done when a document was signed at the town of Levuka by 13 men, representing particular chiefdoms across the Fiji Islands. There are no images of this particular event, because photography or camera technology was rare at the time. Instead, we have some sketches, as well as historic recreations, like the image at the bottom of the screen, which takes place at Levuka on the anniversary of Cession every year. Although interpretations of this event may change over time, the key actor, Sir Ratu Thakambau, is often always represented with a big white beard. And if those of you are living in Suva, you'll see his bust at the front of Parliament House. Arguably, the most important source to understand this event was the Deed of Cession itself, which is currently stored at the National Archives of Fiji in Suva, as well as a copy in the British Archives. You can find online copies through the Fiji Museum website, and I've taken a picture of that here on the right of the screen. You can see in English handwriting the details of the Cession and the signatures of all 13 men in the middle of the page. We will look more closely at this document during the tutorial and examine who it was that signed this document and what it meant specifically. Some of the questions we will discuss in the tutorial relate to the veracity of this document. Was this document translated into indigenous Fijian languages? And were those that signed it of the same understanding of what it meant? Similar debates and discussions occur with the Treaty of Waitangi, another written document that was signed between British colonial authorities and Maori tribesmen in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Let's now consider the factors that contributed to the decision to cede Fiji's sovereignty. It is commonly accepted today that Fiji, or control of Fiji, was given voluntarily to Great Britain. But why would the Fijians choose to do this? There may be a number of factors that contributed to this decision. One key factor may lie with Ratu Seru Epenisa Thakambau, a self-proclaimed Tuiviti, or King of Fiji, at the time. It could be attributed to his successes or his failures as a Fijian chiefly leader. We can also consider internal division, foreign interference, and poor governance and debt as other key reasons which may have contributed to this decision. Let's unpack some of these issues in the following slides. Who was Ratu Seru Epenisa Thakambau? He was an indigenous Fijian man born around 1815 who died in 1883. He was the son of Ratu Tanoa Visawanga and Andi Savasavu. He earned the name Thakambau because it meant destroyer of Bau, referring to the time when he assisted his father in reclaiming control of Bau and its leadership, a topic which we discussed in HY302, Pre-Colonial Power Struggles in Polynesia. There is much literature written about the life of Thakambau and the intricate relationships between the people of Bau and the neighbouring Fijian kingdoms. In 1853, Thakambau was appointed Vunivalu, a title referring to a warlord chief after the death of his father Tanoa. Crucially, in 1854 he converted to Christianity, which may be considered an earnest conversion, but also perhaps a strategic ploy to secure support, particularly from neighbouring Tongans who aided him in his conquests. This came to a head at the Battle of Kamba in 1855, a key or defining moment in Fiji's history, when Bowen and Tongan warriors defeated the neighbouring competing chiefdom of Verata and secured their power throughout Fiji. An outcome of this event was the establishment of confederacies, which later split into the confederacies of Tavata and Kumbuna. Supported by foreign settlers, Thakambau succeeded in creating a united Fijian kingdom in 1871 and established Levuka as his capital. Although there were some stumbling blocks between 1865 and 1871 as he experimented in constitutional government, we must give credit to Thakambau for attempting to combine indigenous Fijian leadership systems with modern adaptations based on other neighbouring Polynesian territories and foreign European influences. Nonetheless, by the 1870s, Thakambau was confident enough to proclaim himself the King of Fiji, or the Tuiviti, even though his rule was not complete, and many chiefs throughout Fiji may have contested this term. So, putting aside Thakambau's key role as a leader in Fiji during Cession, we might also consider the internal politics that he was negotiating and their relationship to broader power struggles. Long before annexation by Great Britain, Fiji was already a divided society, These divisions were not new, and they included internal divisions among the different Vanua and Matanitu, and also divisions between Fijians and neighbouring islands, particularly Tonga. There were also divisions among warring Fijian tribes congregated around three Matanitu, or confederations, known as Kumbuna, Burbasanga, and Tovata. Within the Tovata, another foreigner, a Tongan prince, played a key role in that confederation as the Tuilau. He is known by the short name Maafu, the son of the Tui Kanukupolu Aleamotua. And he is pictured here on the left. If you're in Fiji today, at many traditional ceremonies, you will often hear these three confederacies being mentioned as symbolic of Fiji's traditional alliances. But some of these traditional alliances may have relatively contemporary origins. Historians have traced the origins of Kumbuna to a confederacy formed around 1865 or 1866. It was based in Bau with Thakambau as president, and was key to his expansion of power throughout the island groups. However, in 1867, this confederacy split when Maafu challenged that presidency. Maafu retreated to Lau, his home base, and organised the provinces of Thakondrove, Bua, Madawata, and Lau into a new confederacy, which he called Natovata Konatokalau Keviti, or Tovata for short. He was appointed the Tuilau in 1869, and from then we see Kumbuna and Tovata as these key alliances within the Fiji group. A small book in the library by A.C. Reid, simply titled Tovata, provides an excellent description of these events. Or you can also look at David Routledge's book titled Matanitu, which describes Bau's rise to power and the rise of Kumbuna as an alliance. What is not so clear is the position of Burbasanga. While the salutation, or Aithavuti, refers to a confederacy of Burbasanga, very little about its origin is mentioned by historians of Fiji. The evidence seems to suggest that the Rewans had since 1845 been sacked by Bau under Thakambau. Thakambau had killed Burbasanga's chief, or Turanga, who was the Roko Tui Traketi, namely Ro Kania. The Burbasanga cause was taken up by Ratu Garanigio. Rewa was again destroyed by Thakambau in 1847. Ratu Garanigio survived and carried on the struggle until his sudden death in 1855. In 1858, after the Battle of Kamba, Thakambau began negotiating the cession of Fiji to Great Britain with the first British consul, W.T. Pritchard. All of this suggests that Rewa and its chieftain was under the influence of Thakambau and thus Kumbuna. Between 1871 and 1874, Europeans backed a government headed by Thakambau that was formed and based in Levuka. Under this government, Thakambau had crowned himself king with a reorganised Kumbuna, although this government faced many different challenges. Watch the next video as we discuss some of these challenges that Thakambau faced, which contributed to his decision to cede control of Fiji to Great Britain. Thank you.